In just a few days, we went from having no idea that billions of taxpayer dollars were being stolen by Somali fraud to finding out because a YouTuber, not the media, not local government, not national leadership, but Nick Shirley. Then it escalated from fraud to questions about where the money went, to speculations that it enriched Ilhan Omar and may have been funneling to Tim Walz's campaign. And now, just this morning, we're told Tim Walz is dropping out of his election race after the push to deepen the investigation he said didn't start to expose wrongdoing. No, but because of
white supremacy.
Let that sink in. Now, let me just say this. We are tired of our hard-earned money being wasted. We're tired of it being used on people who came into this country and don't even love it enough to follow the laws. This is genuinely one of the worst things I've seen come out of a state government. I don't know about you, but you've seen the headlines. But what you haven't seen is how big this actually is. Because this isn't just about daycares. Fraud goes way beyond that. But we will think of Minnesota as another case study for this episode so we can respect your time, okay? But here are some other scams with our taxes we can do a deep dive on. If you want a specific one, let me know in the comments. Buckle up because there's quite a few. Minnesota 2025, $18 billion in federal funds were sent to Minnesota, but federal prosecutors say that half or more of that money, which about $9 billion, have been diverted or misused through fraud. COVID era child nutrition fraud with the Feeding Our Future. You may have heard some buzz about Feeding Our Future over the past few days. Well, it's estimated that it was around $300 million in fraud in pandemic food program payments, money that was being donated to feed children during the pandemic. And in Medicaid, this is just Minnesota still. Buddy Tim's been doing a great job over there. About $3.5 million in fraudulent housing and stabilization claims happened in Minnesota as well. And that's just last year. Now let's talk about on a national context. Over the past couple years, about $236 billion has been wasted across just federal programs. $2.7 trillion, money that should not have been paid. Let's break that down a little bit. Improper payments in 2024 is estimated to be around $162 billion. In 2024 alone, about $31 billion has been going to Medicaid improperly. And in earned income taxes, you're looking at about $15.9 billion in improper payments in 2024. Yeah. And 10% of that went to SNAP. Yeah. In any independent audits that have happened, estimate around $233 to $521 billion a year are lost to fraud alone. And then we're told not to question it, even when it comes to our government, because explain to me why Ilhan Omar's net worth was in the negative of about $65,000, and today it's looking at about $3 million. No, I'm wrong, $30 million. But once this was reported, the company stripped its websites of all of its team members' names and bios, and Rose Lake Capital, who is her husband's company, facilitates deal-making, mergers, acquisitions, banking, politics, and diplomacy. Interesting correlation there. Let me walk you through what we actually know. So we're all on the same page here, but I really wanted you guys to have an understanding of this fraud is bigger than daycare, it's bigger than Minnesota. We're talking $2.7 trillion a year. Now let's take a journey back to 2019. Minnesota education officials started noticing some interesting stuff happening with the meal programs from Feeding Our Future. They started seeing the early signs of fraud through how children were being listed, how much money was being sent, and they were pressured, though, to stop asking questions, the state officials. Why, you might ask? I'll give you a second to try to guess. Racism, yeah. Racism. Feeding Our Future claimed the state was discriminating against them based off of race, religion, and national origin, aka being Black and being Islamic. Meanwhile, our money was being spent on vacations, luxury cars, clothes, Money I think we could have both used for our bills, maybe our rent. And 60 convictions came out of this scandal. And Amy Bach, she was the founder of Feeding Our Future, and she was convicted on multiple counts of wire fraud, conspiracy, and bribery. But this behavior didn't wrap up, just the case did. Here's where things start to get a little interesting. Targeting, discrimination, racism, Islamophobia, all to distract from the fact that the same people screaming this were voting for this man to be our vice president and are responsible for ignoring a multi-billion-dollar fraud scheme. Notice what they're not saying. They don't talk about where the money went. They don't talk about how long this went on. They don't talk about why investigations went nowhere for 10 years. Instead, they say, this has been going on for 10 years. So why are you caring about it now? Maybe because it took 10 years for you to care about it. So what does this actually do to us, right? Because we talk about current events here, but we always bring it back to how this affects us societally. Because we, the people, are tired. And now people are even talking about not paying taxes at all, not just because of this case, but because of everything else we're seeing. The billions and trillions of dollars I just mentioned to you, the billions of dollars set overseas, fraud after fraud, and we're told to stay quiet, not to question, not to offend, don't hold people accountable. Like holding someone responsible is somehow worse than stealing from working Americans. This is where it becomes personal. Now let's zoom out for a second. I love a good zoom out because this keeps happening. We have an issue. Someone asks questions and it's suddenly racism, LGBT, Islamophobia, conversation shut down. That's exactly how BLM avoided transparency for years. Ask where the money went and suddenly you're profiling. And funny enough, every single time that excuse is used, fraud ends up being uncovered. Yes, white-owned and operated corporations commit fraud too. Taxpayer-funded scams overwhelmingly happen in systems of little oversight, no matter the race. But the oversight goes down when race is involved because of the societal implications that come from it. Because people use race as a social currency in order to keep them from paying the price. So who does? We do. The DOJ just announced 98 arrests in Minnesota, with 85 reporting of Somali descent. And let me be clear, we need to stop protecting white government officials, and we need to stop protecting immigrants committing fraud by hiding behind race too. Because what's funny is that Somalis never say that they're black. They always say that they're African, which they are. But now, conveniently enough, they're using race and saying they're black as a way to manipulate the masses. We need to have stronger borders. We need to have higher standards. Because why are we surprised that people have been doing this for decades and they're doing it here? They didn't start here. They just got their practice in and they're continuing. We are allowed to say no. I hope we all understand that. You are not welcome here if you come here to steal. Let's be honest. This isn't about race. This isn't about money. You got caught stealing from us. And I'll end with this. If you see something strange going on in your neighborhood, say something, especially when public money's involved. And at this point, if someone immediately screams racism or phobia at legitimate questions, look closer. Because there's always something going on when race is used as the scapegoat. We the people are tired. Now comment below how you think we can get there. We need to pay our taxes. Unless you decide not to. I won't be joining the tax evasion club, but more power to you. We just need to figure out how we can start holding people more accountable, because if I can save money on my taxes, I think we can all agree we would like to, right? But then there comes the question of, even if we cause there to be less tax fraud because of our voices, will we see it translate into how much we pay as a people? If you think so, comment. If you don't think so, comment. Because I'd love to see what you guys think. Let me know what you think. This was fun, infuriating, and informative. Did you know that much money was going unused or not even unused, very much used by people that didn't even deserve that money.